Alright guys, so the Blackout beta has been live for a few hours now. I played non-stop since the very start when it first launched, and I wanted to sit down and give you guys my opinion. I played quite a few games so far, got quite a few wins, had some good times, had some frustrating times, all the above, and I wanted to give you guys kind of like my initial review, my first thoughts, whatever you want to call it, and that's what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to be going through the good, the bad, and kind of like my overall opinion. So, first of all, I mean, obviously, it's a beta. You know, things are going to change. Now, granted, the full game comes out in 4 weeks, so is there going to be a huge, massive change in between now when the game fully launches? I doubt it. I'm sure they're farther along in development than this build of the game that we're currently playing right now. They probably backed it up a couple of builds just to make sure it was more stable and that sort of thing. So I think we definitely will see some changes, and I'm sure we'll see some changes just within this week. Like, I'm sure they're going to fix little bugs and you know, kind of add things in and change things based on our feedback and stuff just from this beta, which is cool. But you know, overall, I feel like this is a good starting point. Like, this is about where we're going to be when the game launches in October. So I feel like it's a fair place to judge kind of what I think right away. So just keep that in mind. Things are going to change, but probably not a whole lot. So talking about the good things, it's smooth. Dude, it is very, very smooth. It is so much smoother than I was expecting. Didn't have a single server issue, didn't have a single lag issue. I did have a couple of dropped matches, but my PS4 was blue screening, so I'm not sure if that's on my console or that's on the game or what, or like just a weird freak accident. But in terms of the gameplay, it is so smooth. And when you think about how this is the first time that COD has ever had more than, like, you know, 12 or 18 players on a map, if you're not counting headquarters last year, then, I mean, that's great. Like, they did a really, really good job with how smooth this game is, the gunplay, everything. It feels really good. It feels really tight. That combat loop that David Vonderhaar likes to wind, it feels good. So I do think it's very, very smooth. When you compare it to other console BRs that are like, you know, kind of like PUBG, like the realistic versions, absolutely shits on it. Like, PUBG plays like crap on console. This plays absolutely amazing on console. We haven't seen it on PC yet, but it plays amazing on console. I was really, really liking that. I played a few solos at first, and I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't nearly as fun as I had when I was playing squads. But I think that could be said for pretty much any BR and really any game. I mean, like, you know, obviously I play a lot of Fortnite. I do enjoy solos from time to time, but I think squads are a nice break from that. I think squads are, you know, tend to be more fun because you can interact with people, you can, you know, make call-outs and stuff like that. And it was definitely the case here, especially with it being a more realistic type shooter. You know, calling out people in windows behind the tree and whatever. Like, it was really, really cool. Like, I liked squads a lot more, and it led to more crazy, more funny moments. So the squads is great. If you guys haven't played it, I definitely encourage you guys to at least try duos or squads if you're only playing solos so far. The map is huge. It's really big, honestly, bigger than I thought, and it's just a really, really cool feeling. Like, you always see the outside of COD maps. Like, I mean, for the past 10 years, there's always been this infatuation with, like, leaving the map, getting out of the boundary. Like, back in COD 4, turning on the old school mode to be able to jump out of ambush and stuff like that, to be able to go to the outskirts of the map. You can do that. Like, you get that feeling. So it's kind of cool as like an old school COD player, and you know, kind of being able to move from map to map and seeing all these things that you're like, oh, I remember playing on this map back in the day years and years ago, and that sort of thing. I don't know. It's a cool nostalgia vibe. It's really nice. It all vibes together really well. I like the different areas of the map. You know, you've got some very interesting different types of fighting. You've got the desert out in the east. You've got, you know, the construction tower up in the northwest. That adds a lot of verticality. And it's just like, even the areas in between, those are some of my favorites, to be honest. Like, it's fun playing on the actual towns, but when you're having the hill fights and you're taking cover behind trees and behind little crests and stuff like that, it's a lot of fun. So the map is big. It's good. I almost think it might be a little bit too big for the number of players currently, but we're going to talk about that in the negatives. The inventory screens and kind of like how the menus work, it's fantastic. Now, it is new, and a lot of people, like, I've heard people complaining about it so far, and I personally, like, when I first tried it, I wanted to complain about it. I wanted to be like, hey, I don't understand this is weird, this is hard. But that's just because it's new. That's because we aren't used to it yet. I think when we get used to it, I think it's going to be really, really good. So you basically have 2 different inventory screens you can use. If you press the options menu, that brings up a full menu where you can manage everything and split your ammo and drop whatever else and you know, do all that stuff. Or while you're in game, you can just press up on the D-pad and it brings up a little mini menu at the bottom of your screen. You can cycle between your healables and your equipment and your perks and stuff like that and activate whatever you want depending on what it is. I think that's cool because it allows you to kind of like organize a little bit or do what you want to do in the menus while also keeping an eye on what's happening, and you can still move around and duck and aim and stuff. So it's cool. I like it. I think they've done a good job with it, and I think once we get used to it, a lot of people are going to like it a lot more. Now, another thing kind of related to that, talking about the healables, I like that you can move while healing. So there are a few different healable options. I don't know the actual names, but there's like the little bandage, which gives you 25. There's the med kit, which gives you 50. And then the trauma pack, which brings you up to 200. So it brings you 50 above the normal 150 health that you get, which is pretty cool. But you can actually use those while moving. I don't think you can sprint, and you can't fire, obviously, but you can, like, you know, if you start taking one and somebody comes around the corner, you can kind of move your way around the corner, which you can't do in Fortnite or PUBG or a lot of the other games, which I think is kind of cool. The vehicles are cool. I like them. I don't like some aspects of them, but I like the idea of them. We're going to talk about that in the negatives. The Little Bird is a lot of fun. Getting your teammates on there. You don't even have to land it all the way on the ground for somebody to be able to hop in. So you can have people hop on. You can fire off of it and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. The cargo truck is interesting, very slow, very loud, but gets the job done when you're transporting your team. And then, of course, you've got the ATVs, which are really fun to run around. They're super, super quick, maybe even a little bit too fast. Like, at times, they're hard to hit when somebody else is running on one. But you can, like, ramp them and do all kinds of crazy stuff. So the vehicles definitely are a lot of fun. I like that. The addition of some of the other little random things in there, like the zombies to get, you know, special weapons and equipment, and the traps that you can get, and all the different, like, grapple guns and stuff like that. It's cool. Like, there are a lot of you know, Call of Duty inspired things thrown in here, obviously, because it's COD Blackout. So that's what kind of gives it its own special twist and makes it different from PUBG, for example. So I do think a lot of that stuff's pretty cool. And then also I really like the death chat option. So when you kill somebody for a few seconds, you can hear what they say on their mic. So you can hear people raging and stuff like that. And I think adding that in the BR mode is really good. I mean, we've had death chat in COD before, and that's not that exciting. It's cool, but it's not that exciting. When it's BR and your life matters so much more and you have these way more intense fights, being able to hear what that other person says if they have their mic in is pretty awesome. I really enjoyed it. So those are some of the good things I could think of right off the bat. I mean, again, like I said, the game, it plays super, super smooth, way smoother than I thought. We've got 80 people on this huge map with all these old school, nostalgic Call of Duty elements, whether it's the map or the items and the equipments and stuff like that. Like, it's honestly, it plays really well. But let's get into the negatives, all right? So the graphics are not very good, and that's kind of putting it nicely. I mean, it's not horrendous, but it's definitely not good. The weapons look good when you're holding them in your hand, that sort of thing, but just kind of like the textures and the fields and the grass and the trees and some of the buildings, and especially when you look at long distances, it really kind of turns into potato mode. And, you know, I don't feel like that's the most important thing in the world, and it's definitely to be expected when we're talking about putting this many people on this big of a map that's never been done before. So, like, I understand there definitely had to be a downgrade in the graphics department, and personally for me, I would rather have good gameplay than have fantastic graphics. Like, if we have lowered graphics to have the really, you know, very smooth, really nice gameplay that we have in this, then that's totally acceptable. So, like, this is in the negatives, but I understand why it's there. I'm just letting you guys know it doesn't look very good. I'm playing on a PlayStation 4 Pro, and I can't even imagine what a normal PlayStation or a normal Xbox One's gonna look like. It's gonna be a little bit rough. I'm sure PC will look a lot better, but yeah, it's not great, it's not horrible, but it's definitely not up to the standard and the polish of like a normal COD game. So just know that coming into it so you aren't disappointed. The wingsuiting feels like you're 10,000 pounds. I don't really have a ton of experience with PUBG, but I feel like it's kind of the same thing there. I don't know what Fortnite's done to make it so smooth. I feel like you have way more control in something like Fortnite, and this, it's like you're very big and heavy and slow to turn, and it feels like you're stuck in molasses, and then when you get down to when you pull the parachute, that's when all shit hits the fan, and it's like it's very hard to control from there. You cannot go laterally very far. You pretty much, like, you're gonna go pretty much straight down And I don't know. I think I'll get used to it with time. Again, it's one of those things where it's new. You just got to get, you know, more accustomed to it. But I feel like it's very slow and clunky on the wingsuiting. Kind of the same for vehicles. The vehicles don't drive very well. The chopper works fine. That you can fly that easily. The cargo truck as well as the ATV, they use both of the analog sticks, which I really don't like. So the left stick is forward and reverse, and then the right stick is to turn the wheels. It's kind of like old school, like Halo Warthogs and stuff like that. I just don't understand why they would do that. I mean, most racing games, you use the triggers for the gas and then the left stick for turning. So it's just like, it's really weird. Like I was having a hard time with it. I couldn't put the vehicles where I wanted them. You're fine if you're going through a field, but if you're trying to maneuver around trees and around houses and stuff, it was just really tough. So I'm hoping they add in a kind of a flipped option for the controls for that, because I really didn't like it. Getting into probably the biggest complaint that I have. Now, if you haven't played this yet, you're probably gonna think I'm crazy with this complaint, but trust me, it makes a world of a difference in the gameplay. So currently, when you want to pick up a weapon or a perk or ammo or anything else, you have to stare at it and hold the square button. Now, it's a quick hold. It goes around the circle fast. It's like a half a second or a second or something like that. But that makes a world of a difference. It is so frustrating looting in this game. It's so slow. It's just like, I don't know, dude. I think we need the tap to pick up. You shouldn't have to hold a button to pick something up. It should be encouraged that you get in, you pick up the weapon quickly, and then you can get into the battle and get into the gunfight. Like we need to be winding that combat loop, making things faster and smoother. Like the gameplay's so smooth until you get into a looting situation where you have to, like, you know, there's a weapon on the ground, so you have to look at it, hold for a half a second, and then look at the ammo and hold for a half a second, and then look at the backpack and hold for a half a second. And it's just like, it makes you feel like your character is made of lead. Like it makes it feel like you're in molasses. It kills the feeling of the game. And Vonderhaar has replied to this already. A lot of people, including myself, had tweeted at him that we wanted the tap to pick up. He said that he didn't want to mess with the main face buttons of COD. So, like, obviously, you normally tap square to reload, so that would kind of, I guess, affect it in some way. He said, like, for example, it'd be frustrating if you're in a gunfight and you were standing next to a weapon and you went to tap to reload and you reloaded, or you picked up that weapon instead of reloading, which I agree, that would be frustrating, but think about how many times it's actually going to happen, first of all. I mean, like, you pick up weapons literally all game long, every game. Shouldn't we prioritize that being smooth over the one-off chances that you're in a gunfight and you're standing on top of a weapon? Like, I feel like that's not going to happen that often. Not to mention that, like, I mean, it should be that you have to look at the thing and tap to pick it up. So, like, let's say you're in a gunfight, there's a weapon below you. You shouldn't pick that up if you press square because you're not looking at it. You should have to look down at it and then tap to pick up. So yeah, my opinion, I think it should definitely be tap to pick up. I think that would greatly improve the gameplay, especially early game when you're trying to loot things off the floor. You know, tap to pick up weapons. Hold if you want to swap out a weapon. So like, let's say you have two primary weapons already and you want to swap one out for what's on the ground. You should hold square to swap it out, that's like an extra confirmation. And then for ammo, I think tap to pick up would be decent, but I personally think it should auto pick up because, again, we should be focusing on the gameplay, on the gunfights, on getting into the action, not on the looting aspect of it. And I think Vaughn replied to this as well. I think he said that when it was auto pickup, people ended up with too much ammo and nobody was running out of ammo, which I kind of understand how that would happen, but at the same time, like, I would rather have people with more ammo happier because they're getting in more gunfights than have people with less ammo frustrated because they're sitting staring at the ground to pick up ammo. Like, it's rough. The looting is rough. It definitely needs some help, and I think tap to pick up would make a big difference there. Now, finally, last but not least, the last thing that I definitely think needs some work, and this is going to be a touchy one. This is one that it's hard to say where we want to lie on the balance scale here, is the health. Now, I can't sit here and say that it's 100% not right and it needs to be changed, but I personally, as of right now, feel like it's a little bit too low. And I know that's weird because a lot of people are saying, hey, we want a quicker time to kill in COD in general, but for a Battle Royale game, it's a bit different because you can spend 10 minutes looting or 15 minutes looting. You get a couple of kills, you're moving around the map, you're feeling it, you're doing well, whatever. And then the time to kill is so fast in this that if you don't have like a level 2 or a level 3 armor and somebody just happens to be like behind a tree and you don't see them, or they come up over the hill at the wrong time, you get that COD timing, whatever else, if they somehow see you first and they're shooting you in the back or in the side and they have any sort of aim, you're dead. There's pretty much nothing you can do. Like, it just, like, you know, it doesn't matter how good you aim. If you turn around, you start shooting them back, by that time you've already got 3, 4, 5 bullets in you and you're done. You're not going to be able to survive that. Whereas some other BR games, I mean, I haven't played a ton of PUBG, so I can't really speak on that, but like, for example, Fortnite, you've got the health, you've got the shields, and you've got the building. So you can turn and build and kind of set up cover, which obviously you can't do in Blackout. We don't want that to happen in Blackout. We do want this to be a realistic tactical shooter. So it's a very tough balance there because, like, sometimes I feel like it is a little bit too low, and it leads to very frustrating situations where you're like, damn it, I spent 15 minutes in this game just to get shot in the back. This is BS. I'm getting sick of it. But at the same time, it shouldn't be like, you know, super soldiers, super suits with tons of health taking forever to kill each other. Because it's supposed to be a tactical shooter. You should be more careful about your movement and checking your surroundings and that sort of thing. So, I don't know. I could see like maybe a little buff in the health, maybe more ways to protect ourselves. Right now there's the 3 things of armor as well as the trauma kit to give you an additional 50 health if you want it. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but I did feel like it was a little bit on the short side for time to kill, and maybe that's just what's going to set this game apart and make it different from the other ones. I don't know, but it definitely was something to kind of consider. So, yeah, there you guys have it. I mean, those are the good things and the bad things, the things that really stood out that I felt like I needed to discuss with you guys. Overall, like I said, I mean, the game plays really great. Like, it feels good at its core. The gunplay and the movement and everything, it's so smooth. It's great. It doesn't look all that great. And there are a lot of other little things that I would definitely change. So without a doubt, the best BR realistic shooter on console. I don't think you can really compare Blackout with Fortnite because there's such different genres. But if we're talking about BRs on console that are like realistic military shooters, by far the best one. And I personally think that this game's probably going to be playing better on PC than it does on console because you're going to have better graphics, you're going to have more options for keybinds, you're going to have better menu, you know, kind of like swapping out attachments and stuff like that, and kind of looting and stuff like that. So, you know, I think it's definitely the best BR on console, not including Fortnite. And it should play pretty well on PC, but at the same time, and it's early to say this, but I'm going to say it just because it is a concern of mine. I don't know what the big draw is. Like, if we're talking about, I mean, it's the best on console, so people are going to play it on console without a doubt. But if we're talking about PC, like, obviously PUBG has a huge community. It's a massive game. What are people going to want to switch to this over PUBG for? Like, I don't see where that is. Like, I know PUBG plays pretty well on PC. I know they've had optimization issues and stuff, but like, there's way more to PUBG. It's way deeper. There's more going on. And again, that's hard to judge Blackout for right now because we don't know everything. We don't know what Treyarch has planned. But like, for example, when you look at something like Fortnite that has new weapons, new modes, new equipment, new updates going out every single week. You've got the battle pass, you've got the themed seasons, you've got like a whole entire storyline happening in the background in this lore of the giant cube or the rocket launch or the visitor or anything else. Like, there's just so much content all the time going on there. And I don't know if Treyarch will be able to keep up. If they can, then fantastic. I mean, we know they brought in Raven to help them develop this. And if we can get new weapons and events and challenges and things going on all the time, I think this is going to be an absolutely fantastic game. If we can't get that, I don't think it's going to be nearly as good. I think people will get bored of it. And that's just me being completely honest. Like, I think it is a good game that plays well, but it's going to be all about how can they keep up the action after launch? How can they keep adding in new points of interest, adding in new weapons, and keeping us entertained? Because people get bored. Everybody gets bored of things when you do the same thing too many times in a row. And I think Fortnite has really kind of set the bar high for game developers in that you know, perspective. So I don't know. Like I said, best console BR if you're not including Fortnite, because those two can't really be compared against each other. Absolutely. I think it's going to play great on PC. I can't wait to play it later this week. I think overall we've got a very good start. There are some things to change, but overall I'm feeling pretty positive about it. We'll just have to see how that post-launch support is. So there you guys have it. Those are my thoughts and opinions. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I realize that I was kind of negative here, but I'm just being honest with you guys. Like, there are positives and are negatives here, and I wanted to kind of round out everything as much as I could. So, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to catch you guys later. Peace out.